Okay, so it's your girl Sophia, and I'm on. I'm on because, of course, everybody knows because it's everywhere about the Diddy trial, his sex trafficking trial, which is it's about a little bit of everything. It's talking about all his personal sexual this, that, and the third, domestic violence, and of course he has the drug charge, I think, and sex trafficking. I don't care about all the details. What I'm here to talk about, though, is all of the hype and talk that I've been hearing about Cassie's testimony. I already had something to say when she first came out and she did the civil suit, and everybody was like, oh, she is just a money grab. She just want money. It's not what that is. And then, of course, soon as that video dropped a few months later, now everybody want to believe Cassie. It wasn't a money grab. But the main thing I've been seeing about her testimony, especially in comments, that's bothered me is I'm dealing with 3 different things with her testimony with this Diddy trial. The first thing I keep seeing is, why did she stay for 10 years? If it was so bad, and of course, it wasn't 10 straight years either. It was off and on. But, like, why did she stay for 10 years? One of the things that I want to bring out is that we saw the video from her from 2016 where she's trying to leave a hotel. And this boy comes out with a towel wrapped around himself, getting her, dragging her down, beating her up. We saw it for on us. That was 2016. So even outside of that, if you don't understand what domestic violence is, if you don't understand abuse, if you don't understand the draw that you got this teenage girl that started dealing with this grown man, roped in because she had a dream. He even exposed her to things that she had never, ever been exposed to. So nose wide open. She sprung, she groomed. But for any of us that's actually been in domestic violent relationships, a lot of times you keep coming back. It takes 5 to 7 times on average for a person to leave a violent relationship. Also, same thing when it comes to human trafficking, because you keep going back. 1, because you may not feel you have the support. 2, you might have been ostracized from your family and support system, or your predator has made it to where you're not safe or comfortable, or there's been threats against your life, and she even talked about being blackmailed. But this is my thing. We're sitting up here blaming her for the fact that, especially for those that hasn't been in a relationship, why does she keep coming back? Again, have you ever been in a relationship with somebody that you love? Y'all have disagreements, y'all have issues, y'all have a fight, and then y'all make up, or y'all work it out. Or there's plenty of people that are even married today that have had infidelity come up, that have been lied to, that have money issues, and y'all work it out. But y'all not judging that. Y'all judging her because of the types of things that they were involved in, like the freak-offs and all that other stuff. But I just hate when everybody gets to victim blaming when it comes to survivors. So I'm here with my girl, Talia. We're in Atlanta. And like I said, we've been watching a few different videos on her trial. And I just kept saying, I gotta go live because I'm just so sick of hearing ignorant people in comments talking about it must not have been that bad. But again, you've been in your dysfunctional relationship for the last 4.5, 5 years, or you in a dysfunctional marriage today. But we want to pass judgment, not knowing what the psychological trauma it was. Yes, 1 minute I love you, the next minute I hate you. A lot of times I'm going to tell you what you want to hear because I'm scared if I don't, you're going to go upside my head. So yeah, baby, I love you too. No, I can't stand you. Been there, done that. But it's just so funny how people cast judgment when they haven't been in that predicament. What you think, T?
Well, I mean, so, I know your story, of course. And that's, my story is a little different. I look at it as Cassie, I look at it from a young woman's perspective. She was a young woman who was trying to make her mark, trying to make her name, trying to go that route. And I've met a lot of celebrities, people that were my heroes. Thank God, none of them ever really disappointed me or did anything, like that. But I know what it's like when you're in the company of somebody that you've put on a pedestal, or you admire their work or whatever. And the opportunity, when we're young, we make crazy decisions, and my thing is, people are not looking at her humanity. Like, she was a young woman at one point, and yes, she obviously made bad decisions. But now those decisions, she's got to walk it out and tell to the whole world, right, how she made bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's got to testify in a court of law all of her bad decisions. Can you imagine somebody putting you on trial and all your bad decisions coming up? Like, everything that you did wrong in a season of your life replayed over and over in front of, your spouse who you've gone on, life with or whatever. All your bad decisions coming up. I think that people have lost the ability to give each other grace.
Yeah. And my thing is, even if I'm going to be real, like when I was 17, 18, I didn't look at it as a bad decision. I've done some wild things that I hope don't come to light. And if they do, it is what it is. That was my age.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she made those decisions, and of course, hindsight, of course, now you older, now, you've seen where you erred, right? Even though, like, you owning it, but she's in a court of law now because it's a whole, judging her based upon a season of her life.
Yeah. And I look at it also, you make decisions in a hurt space. Yeah. So here is somebody that was 17, 18, somewhere in there, meeting somebody that's almost 40 years old, been in the game a minute, been with quite a few folks, has a lot of power. Yes, and there's a little quick pro quo. Then you get, like I say, turned out. That's the word I want to say. You get turned out, especially getting turned out sexually. And she's not no like foo-foo. She's a beautiful young woman, but you get turned out, you get promises made. And, like she said, I was even roped in. I became on drugs. You make a lot of irrational decisions when you're on drugs. Again, a lot of things happen in a hurt space. Yes, you make some mistakes when you're in that space as well. But here it is. No one deserves to be put in a predicament where now you feel you can't get out because of potential public humiliation, or fear for your life, or fear for those around you in their space as well. But the fact that all you have to say is, why did she stay? Oh my gosh, there's millions of women that are in domestic violent relationships every year that stay beyond the first hit, that stayed behind the first time that he or she, because women also abuse men, but they've stayed in that relationship not because they necessarily wanted to. Maybe it was they had hope they'd change. Maybe it was they actually believed that they were sorry and that they wouldn't do it again. So there's a lot of reasons why people stay, but the only comment that you have is, well, it must not have been that bad because, again, y'all saw the evidence when she did try to leave in 2016.
And he chased her down that hall.
Right. Like, you ain't gonna, where you going? Like, no, where you get your behind back here. So again, I even said, and I wasn't trying to be funny. I said, if Diddy would have raped me, I wouldn't have told nobody either. Like, who I'ma tell? Like, he got governors coming over to his parties. He know all kind of people in law enforcement, judges, politicians. Like, he has everybody in the bag. He getting keys to the city, for goodness sake. Like, where am I gonna go? And who's gonna believe little old me? So I just, like, this whole tenure, until that's been you, I just think you need to shut up. Like, until you've been in that predicament, like, you don't really have a leg to stand on. The second thing I kept hearing was about her husband being present, which I was surprised because, again, I'm talking from a space. I just went through my own sexual assault trial. And I was only on the stand for four and a half hours, and it ripped me apart. She's been on for 20 hours, good and well pregnant, about to have a baby any 2 minutes. So, like, I just couldn't imagine. And she went through almost a decade of toxic relationships, some consensual, some not. It's just a whole bunch going on. I decided that my life wasn't going to be listening to every detail. But she went through a decade of that. I had an instance of mine, and it destroyed the last 3 years of my life. So I could not imagine what it took for her to pull herself out when she finally did get the strength to leave and stay on, which she dabbled in it a little bit, and I can see the draw. Like, this is somebody also you've been dealing with your, at that time, adult life. And now you have to let him go. Still a draw there. Who knows what kind of lip service he was given, what kind of things he was promising to change or do whatever. Who knows? That's between them. But they said the husband being present, talking about if he only knew what she did, maybe he wouldn't have been with her. from somebody that's been trafficked as a juvenile, from somebody that's been in domestic violent relationships and literally was kidnapped, tortured, and raped before I even got married. How is that relevant? They even tied that into, well, that's why I asked how many men my woman's been with. Okay, so Talia said something that was relevant. If you ask the question, you got to be ready for the answer. I am not obligated to tell you and run down if I have a list. Some people may not. Some people might be virgins, and power to you. If you still a virgin in your 40s or in your 30s, that's a wonderful attribute. I wish that my innocence wasn't stolen from me, so that could have been my testimony, but it was not. But I'm not obligated to tell you everybody I've ever dated, everybody I've ever had a relationship with, everybody that I've just anything with. Like, yes, I do feel if I have children, you need to know about, obviously, my children's father, any probably long-term relationships with somebody you might run into, because I don't want to disrespect you like that. But, like, I don't need no laundry list. I didn't ask my husband, who's everybody you ever dated, who everybody you ever hollered at, everybody you ever been with, because that's the past. So why am I worried about what you did in your teens or your 20s or your 30s and we 40 and dating? So the fact that now everybody is talking about, you know, she probably didn't even tell him all of that. No, I'm pretty confident, given that Diddy hired him to be her trainer, he was aware. All of us were aware, and Diddy's not the only one that does these parties. Best believe there's a lot of celebrities, white and black, that host these types of parties. There's a lot of people that this their lifestyle, whether they swingers, whether they just like to go and do the dominatrix. There's a lot of people that have kinky sexual lifestyles. That's their business. Obviously, when you get to doing illegal stuff and you hurting people, that's when it's a problem. But why now is it relevant that her husband had to know every single detail of what she did in order for him to, like, love her right? And why is it that she had to give the count of men that she been with?
It's irrelevant.
It's
irrelevant. And I mean, at the end of the day, why are we trying to be in their whole relationship? Like, these are private conversations. Obviously, he, you know, has seen the beauty of who she is beyond that, beyond her trauma, beyond whatever. And they're married. They're expecting a child. Like, they're gone on with their lives. They just have to come back and revisit some things. But clearly it didn't bother him.
Right. So, and if it did, he had to work that out for himself. Yeah. I think more so what's happened, and I heard he was giving him the death stare in the courtroom. Good for you. But when I went through my trial in November 2023, the prosecutor wouldn't allow my husband, and he wasn't a witness because I didn't know him when mine happened. I met him right after that. But he wouldn't let my husband come in. He said, one, because sometimes husbands do not react well when somebody that they love, they have to confront somebody that they love, which makes sense. I didn't want my husband present because I did not want him to visualize those things that happened to me when he saw me. Like, I didn't want to chance him potentially looking at me differently, because I never divulged all of the intimate details to the torture that I sustained. One, because that's my story to tell. You're not going to obligate me, after I've already had to rehash it 8 or 9 times in this justice journey, to go there if I don't want to go there. And I need you to love me and trust me and respect me enough to where that's my boundary, because that's my story.
But look on the flip side. What if they did have, I mean, obviously they had that conversation, and he obviously made a conscious decision to be there with her. Mm-hmm. So again, why people feel like they're qualified to talk about something that they have no business, you know, like, you're not in their relationship. Obviously he wants to be there for his wife. And what is the problem with that?
I thought, and they made him leave. Everybody kept saying he's mad and walked out. No. The defense did ask for him to leave because the prosecution will potentially use him as a witness. And there is certain things, and I found this out of mine, which I didn't think was fair, but it is what it is. After I testified, my perpetrator, in the beginning of the trial, they asked, is the defendant going to testify on his own behalf? He said no. After I got off on the stand, probably because he looked so bad and there was some other forensic evidence that came in, he then was able to change his decision and go testify. Well, when he got to testify, I couldn't be present, which I was so pissed. Because I was like, oh, he got to stare me down I mean, he stared me down for 4.5 hours, passing little old sticky notes and taking notes on everything I'm saying. Then he got to come back and go on the stand, and I couldn't be in there to return the favor of eyeing him down as he's up there. And he was lying. I heard about what he said and was able to get the transcript and up there lying. And I couldn't return the favor, but they don't allow you in there because you might hear something that another witness says that then changes your testimony. So it protects you as a witness to say, I wasn't privy to what they said, but they did allow him in temporarily because she needed a support system because she is literally due. And you're having to face someone that you were in fear for your life at one point. Yes, you may have loved, but there was also a point that you were in fear for your life. Again, being that I've been in a domestic violent relationship, I understand how you can love your perpetrator, how you could desperately want for them to change, how you can believe that it's going to change. And then you never know how somebody's been brought up on what love is. I'll give an example. So in my upbringing, at the age of 9, when my father started with me, he basically kept telling me that loving men is all I'm good for. That's what I'm supposed to do. Whatever man says, that's what you do. If he's upset, it's probably because you did something wrong. So the foundation for me of love as well, because he would say, well, let's do what we see on these porno movies because I love you. That's how people love each other. My definition of love was sex, period. Like this whole romance, intimacy, being all that wasn't my concept of what love was. Respect, that wasn't my concept. And that's why I tell people love does not mean the same thing. It is not a universal word. And that's why it's so important to communicate. I always talk about your love language. There's this great website, 5lovelanguages.com, but it's so important for you to be able to express what love means and what you need in order to feel loved, as well. And so for me, love was sex. So if I felt that I loved someone, or if he said he loved me, okay, we're going to have sex. Even if I didn't feel comfortable because of how my father reared me, I was going to be submissive to men, period. I didn't have my own say so. I don't know my value or my worth. And then it don't help being trafficked because now you have no concept of that. And then you learn how to compartmentalize. We don't know her background, her upbringing, to where she was susceptible. One thing I did ask, where was her family? That doesn't mean that they weren't there to support, but I look at me as a mom. With mine, I could care less about a Diddy. That's just like the R. Kelly scenario. I'm some of those parents that they blame the parents because where were the parents at? But again, you never know how he might have sucked that in. You don't know what it was. She might not even had the support of parents or whatever have you. But it does seem like at some point, she didn't have no support system or didn't have someone that felt like they could come and stand up against them. I don't know. But outside of that, I'm just, people that have not been in these types of relationships have so much to say. And that's the one bad thing about social media. Everybody can go on here and make a comment and know they're never going to be seen or heard. They're never going to be confronted. And knowing that if they were in that person's face, they wouldn't say half of that. Not even a little bit. But somebody that literally had to relive that trauma all over again right before having a child. Like, this is supposed to be her time. Like, this is her and her husband's time to celebrate another child being brought in this world. She got out, and was able to get married and to have a life that she had probably yearned for all through her 20s into her early 30s and did not get. And then now we got to relive and then have the defense, which, and I'm going to be honest, one of the reasons that kept me, I only waited 5 days. She waited several years before she finally did it. But it's almost what kept me from filing charges against my offender is because I was like, I don't feel like, and I even said it in my interview. They tried to bring that up in my cross-examination, which is ridiculous. But I said I didn't want to go through this. Like, I didn't want to go through the defense destroying my character because that's their job, right? Their job is to destroy my credibility so that their defendant, who is a rapist, can get off and say there was something fundamentally wrong with me. That's why you can't believe whatever I say about him raping me. And that's what they do. And so the fact that she had to live through hours of them trying to pick apart nuanced stuff, which they did with me, I know how that feels. Like, I forgot that it was my keys over my cell phone. Like, I just knew I had something in my hand and I placed it. And he grilled me, oh my gosh, about was it a key or a phone? I don't care. I don't know. Like, that's not relevant. But they'll try to take any little thing. You can be off by an hour for something that happened 2 years ago. You're supposed to have a stark memory. And if you don't remember it, something wrong with you. So again, I had to come on because literally, like Talia said, we don't have grace for those that have been victimized. We always have an opinion, especially when we haven't been through it. The fact that she struggled to leave that man, that was her decision. She had to find the strength to finally let go. The fact that, yes, she had several partners. Okay. So that must mean every one of us that's been trafficked can't ever find love again because we got more than one partner. Any of us that have multiple children that have different fathers, we can't ever be loved again. Any of us that's gone through a divorce because we've had obviously a husband, that means we obviously had sex with that husband. We can't get married again. We can't find love again. It's absolutely ludicrous that we're having conversations as adults about how many partners I've been with. Outside of, so if you were a prostitute and you find God and you get off the streets and you get your life right, so now you can't be loved because you might have more than 2 or 3 or 4 partners. So is that what we're saying now? Like, if you're not a virgin and you don't have one partner, you can't be loved? So I have to go ahead and itemize the list of all the men that I've been with in my whole life just to appease you and your ego? Oh, because I might compare you. You might be trash compared to the other people, so now we got a problem. Or is it you just want to make sure I don't got AIDS and we good? Like, so what is it that you feel like I have to run down everybody I've been with to appease you? And the fact that it's all men that are saying these comments about Cassie and her husband, let that be what they doing. If Alex loves her for her, despite what she been through, let that be just what that is. They've got married, they got 3 kids, well, the 3rd one's on the way, and we still worried about, man, if somebody pissed on my face, it couldn't be me. Okay, well, you probably doing anal sex, and that can't be somebody else. So what we saying? You doing oral sex, and that can't be somebody else. What we doing? You don't know where her mouth been, where your mouth been. So if you've had oral sex with somebody, and I get with you, and you tell me that, and I said, well, no, because you've been somewhere, come on now, let's be real. If we're gonna be real, let's be real. Let's be real. If you want to get tested, that's cool. And you can do that. And that's good. But you don't need to ask me my list. I mean, I could care less. I'm literally, I told my husband, like, we in this year. So, like, everybody you dealt with the year before, what relevance is, I'm not going to meet them. Now, if there's a chance I'm going to meet them, you need to let me know. That's just out of respect, because I don't need any female around me knowing they was with my man. It's something in the air. And I feel the same way with my husband. Like, when we were shooting our movie, there was, I got to let my husband know, look, I'm just telling you, this is what it is. If you don't feel comfortable, I understand. But I'm never going to let you be in the presence of somebody I dealt with and you don't know. Because for me, that's respect. But I'm just saying, like, we nitpicking. If you want a virgin, go get that. But if you're getting with somebody, especially somebody that's probably in their 30s and 40s, if they ain't been saved since birth, guaranteed they more than likely not no virgin. And we talking about people in the church too. I'm talking to my saints that saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, and fire baptized. We weren't all virgins. We born again virgins, as they say. We make up a word for everything. So we born again virgins once you get saved and you're not married. Well, but, some people done dipped in the water a little bit.
But here's the thing. There are people who have made decisions prior, and then when they get, they give their life to Christ, they take on celibacy. Like, it's a serious thing. And I believe that God redeems the time. God makes all things new. Like, I believe, and I know some people that have done that, and it is beautiful. Mm-hmm. But my thing is, why don't we just stay out of people's bedrooms?
Wait a minute, because 1 Thessalonians 4:11-13 say, mind your business. If we gonna go scripture, it's in the book. Mm-hmm. I'm saying 1 Thessalonians makes it clear. Mind your business. And worry about yourself. There's a little meme of this little girl sitting in her car seat in the back. Her daddy stretches back to try to help her with the car seat. She's like, worry about yourself. Just worry about yourself. And that's just how I feel. Yes, it is news. Yes, we are talking about it, but I'm talking about it because I know too many survivors that this is the nonsense that we got to deal with. And that's the reason why so many of us have been oppressed. So that's why so many of us won't ever come out. That is why so many of us will never seek justice for ourselves, because we don't want to deal with what society has to say. That is one of the systems that we have to navigate. I talk about those 7 systems. We got to deal with family and friends because I've lost them, because I got raped. We have to now deal with society, which is what Cassie and others have had to deal with, because they got a little claim to fame based on their notoriety. So not everybody got something to say about their life. We got to deal with the healthcare system and the biases that are in the healthcare system. We then have to deal with local law enforcement, the judicial system, and the prosecution. We have so many systems that we got to navigate as survivors. And you got the audacity to get up there and ask us why we don't tell everybody every single detail about, because we don't want to. That's why. Because we don't want to.
Just like people make decisions about other things and they don't tell people their business. There were people walking around with AIDS, being in relationships and not telling people. There were people walking around being dope fiends, like secret popping pills, doing all kinds of stuff and not telling their partners, not telling their spouses, not telling. Look, how many people back in the day, you know, the husband would die and then the wife would find out he had some illegitimate child across town.
Listen, and that's what when we talking about the saints now. I'm just saying, how many of your aunties really your mother? There was that whole phase with the baby boomers that went out, that they lied so tough. And half of us finding out stuff years later. We talking about all this generational stuff because y'all kept everything secret. Again, nobody is perfect.
No.
And even when it comes to sin, as we talk about, there's no one greater. Like, we talk about, like, lying is the same weight to God as murder. It's the same weight to God as adultery. It's the same weight as gluttony. It's the same weight as backstabbing and talking about people. It's all the same weight. The fact that we as human beings want to say, well, you know, I just told a little white lie, but you killed somebody. So, you know, I'm better because mine wasn't as egregious. No, ma'am, no, sirs.
There are some people who have done more damage with their mouths than somebody with an actual gun. Like, there are people who have assassinated people with their mouths.
Because the power of life and death is in the tongue. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. That's why you see people committing suicide based on social media. We have right now girls that have the highest level of anxiety in history because of what somebody said on social media. Because they are so concerned with what other people say. If they post something, oh, you fat. What's wrong with your mouth? Oh, you got a gap. Girl, you got a double chin. You know, before we get on here, you got to jazz yourself up. You got to do 15 different filters so you can feel some type of way so somebody won't judge you. Your mouth is something. And that's why I had to come on here and put my mouth on the fact that we got so many people judging a survivor, despite how much time was consensual and how much wasn't, despite what was, what wasn't. We saw the video. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care how much you support him, blah, blah, blah. I saw it from my own eyes. I saw it from my own eyes. And even before I saw that, I believed her hands down. Because there's no way in the world in less than 24 hours you go ahead and settle to shut somebody up if it all ain't true. I'm just... if it ain't true.
You know, at the end of the day, my heart, you know, it's an ugly situation and she has to relive it and all that testimony.
And now it's all relived in media again.
And people who aren't even in the situation, who will never be in proximity to a Diddy or anybody else, are the main ones running their mouths about stuff. And my thing is, it's easy to say what you would do, what you wouldn't do, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't you. It wasn't you.
And what have you done? And what have you done that you hope and pray don't get out? What have you done? Like, when's the last time you've examined your own self and the decisions you made in a hurt place? Decisions you made if you were ever an addict and went through that
That's
trial.
What I'm saying. I mean, she's on the stand and she's having to tell all this stuff and relive the bad decisions and the seasons. Like, in some level, she had to own it.
In front of a bunch of strangers. So again, she on a whole nother level because she just on a whole nother level. My trial, I only had about maybe 25 people in there. I had 10 men on my jury and 2 women. And then you got a stenographer like in my face. You got the judge. You got all the court officials. Then you got random people out there that has to listen to all of your intimate details. And I guarantee you, she didn't even give you all the nitty-gritty. I can guarantee you she didn't do all that. She didn't even give you probably the most raunchiest component of it. Because when you're having this, and it's all in black and white, it's public knowledge and public record. Anybody can go and request the transcript. They doing transcripts in real time. Yeah. Like I've been seeing them post things in real time. And then you got people that all they do all day is dissect that mess.
Yeah.
All day trying to find and poke holes.